So this is IFAST podcast number 2, and let's just make this very clear. I'm not really that tall, so I feel a little weird here.
I even pushed this one up, man.
I got to adjust down just a little bit, just so I feel like I'm not overpowering here. That's kind of weird. Yeah. So this is number 2. And I think that the most important thing that we do as we lead into number 2 is that we check in on your Movember status, because I've never seen this much growth on Mike Robertson before. It's just kind of weird.
I was actually sending Slack messages to Eric yesterday because the itch here is just awful.
I can only imagine.
I said I need some tips from like the pro, because I know he's been there.
That's why I can't. One, I don't look good with facial hair, but number 2, I just can't stand. I can't stand that neck thing.
A couple people I've solicited some advice, and they said you just got to push through.
Well, like somebody like Joey Burton would be like the bearded one. I mean, he's got like Ulysses S. Grant would be asking Joey for advice on how to grow a beard.
Oh yes.
So in podcast number 1, we talked about the startup and sort of answering Q&A questions about how to start up a business. I think that one of the things that we knew was important from the onset was teaching for many reasons. And personally, one of the reasons that I teach is because I get better. Mm-hmm. Because one of the things about teaching that people don't recognize is when you have to verbalize things that you merely do through intuitive means or through an internal thought process. When you have to express yourself, you've actually identified gaps in your understanding, and you teach yourself. And so I think we should probably talk about the internship programs that we've had here, and then we can name drop all day long because of the people that have been through here as employees and interns and et cetera, and how well they're doing. So I think we could probably mention some of those people, because I think there's value in that level of understanding.
Yes.
But let's go back to 1.0.
Yes. Nick the intern.
Nick
the intern, baby.
So Nick Rosencutter is incredibly successful in the Milwaukee area. He's got 2 gyms of his own. He's a licensed massage therapist since he left us many almost 11 years ago.
Yeah.
And so he was intern number 1, forever known as Nick the intern.
Yes.
So and you sort of arranged that.
Yeah. He had.
So talk to me about that.
Yeah, he had reached out to us, and honestly, that wasn't even on. I know it wasn't on my radar. I don't think it was probably on yours either. It was just like, oh, somebody wants to come work at IFAST. And the crazy thing is, to this day, he's the only intern that's ever been paid. I don't know how he swindled us out of $500 a month, but we did pay him. But yeah, he reached out and just said, this is something I'd like to do. I followed your guys' work for a long time. And man, the crazy thing is, I don't know if you remember this, but do you remember I actually went to Australia?
Correct.
When he was an intern, and he covered the gym
for a week.
Yes.
For an entire week. Yes, he was actually. But that actually created an element of the early internship programs where we saw the value in that situation of putting a little bit more pressure on them.
Yes.
Once they sort of evolved a level of comfort.
Yeah.
And that became sort of like a hell week of the internship, especially in the early phases. And it turned out that it became very, very useful to us on many levels. While you never want to turn an intern into a free employee ever. And it wasn't like Nick was unsupervised at any time. It was just a matter of him recognizing that he needed to step up his game, and instead of working with you, it became, okay, this is what it's going to be really like.
Absolutely.
And so they get the experience of that.
Well, you made such a great point early on, and I think that's one of the things that when an intern starts, they have varying levels of self-awareness. Some are very self-aware and they know they don't know much, and others are on the opposite end of the spectrum, as you recall. But I think it's so illuminating for them, because when we started, 08, 09, the first thing I had them do day 1 was, okay, teach your partner here how to foam roll. And again, this is foam rolling. It's 2008, 2009. It's a thing at this point. And some of them struggled so massively just to coach somebody on how to foam roll, and they're like shocked by this.
Right.
I said, but this is a great learning experience for you because you know how to squat or bench or deadlift or do a push-up. You do these things intuitively.
Right.
But teaching somebody else is a whole different ballgame. And I think just doing that on day one exposed them to the fact that, wow, this is something so simple, so mundane, yet I have no clue how to teach it or how to coach it.
Right, right, and that's a huge deal, and I think that I have a little bit of a benefit of seeing a different level of evolution. So think about all the guys that came through as gym interns first, and then came back
Yes.
as Padawans through the physical therapy internships, and the biggest difference that you see between the guys that were here before as gym interns and then came through as physical therapy interns is they were instantly able to establish rapport.
Yes.
They were instantly able to coach a patient through an activity because of the number of reps and the volume of exposure that they got as gym interns. And I think that when we look at physical therapy students, one of the hardest things for them to do is to come in and try to communicate the simplest of concepts, as you said, to someone else, because when they have to verbalize it, it's totally different. Because people go into this business, this industry, because they look at a tank top, they like to work out, they've demonstrated some measure of success in the gym, and then they think it's easy to coach somebody else, when the reality is it's a totally different skill.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why the way we have the intern set up now is that first 2 weeks, you don't coach at all. You don't coach. In fact, we ask you, I don't care how much you know, you could have 10, 15 years of work experience, please don't coach. Right. Because we do things different in that regard. Most importantly, nobody cares how you coach them until they know your name, they know what you're about, then they're accepting of your coaching, right? And if you don't build that rapport first, it doesn't matter.
Right, right. And I think that's where a lot of trainers are actually very, very successful. So let's take a trainer that maybe, there's varying levels of understanding, but maybe not very knowledgeable, but they're a hell of a nice person.
Yeah.
They understand how to communicate with people. They establish rapport very, very quickly, so they have a very nice personality. And right away, their perception is one of trust and as I said, rapport, and they immediately make the connection with the client, because ultimately, from a retention standpoint, from a coaching standpoint, from a success standpoint, if you don't have that level of rapport, it doesn't matter what you know.
Right. No, absolutely.
It really doesn't matter. And so I think that's really an important aspect of what we're doing with the interns by restricting them and holding them back.
Yeah. And it's been interesting, too, to just see how we've evolved the program as a whole. Because if you think back, 2008 to 2012 or 13-ish, there was a program, right? People came here and interned, but there was no curriculum. Right. It was, you hang out with Mike and Bill and whoever else is on the floor at that point, and you learn from them. And so it's been cool to see that process and that evolve too, because now it isn't just you and I, right? We've got a staff, and so it puts some onus on them to teach and to grow and evolve themselves. Right. I don't know. It's been cool to see that process over the years.
And you just take the current crew that we do have, and I'm really looking forward to the next group of interns, because we do have some new staff that's coming in.
Yep. And
so we look at Eric. So Eric, as an intern, I don't think.
You look scared.
Well, but I'm fairly certain that I never knew his full name the entire internship, and I'm pretty sure I didn't know his first name until about 2 weeks left, because there was a silence around him.
Yes.
And he's very difficult to read. He's got a wicked sense of humor.
Yes.
But the interesting thing about seeing Eric now and working with the current coaches, and then working with a few groups of interns, is that you get to see him evolve as well. And I think that's very, very powerful from our staff standpoint, that it's making our staff better. So again, we go right back to the initial discussion, is we teach to get better ourselves, not just to influence the next generation or the next group, but there's so much power in what we're doing with our internship program.
Yeah. And so now, to give you guys some context, when we started, it was literally come and hang out with Mike and Bill. Like, that's it. You can watch us, shadow us, ask questions. There was nothing formal about it. And then over the years, it evolved to where it was almost like these 2-week blocks of, okay, for this first 2 weeks, you are just observing. You're meeting people. You're picking up the gym. You're learning the cleaning procedures. We're educating you. The next 2 weeks was what we described as Hell Week, right? Because when we started, we would open at 6, we'd be here at 5:45, and we'd close up 7:15, 7:30. So all of our interns did that every day. Now, we kind of break it up a little bit more, and we try and make it a little bit more manageable. But they're here 9 to 7 or 9 to 8 most days. Well, those 2 weeks they're here all day, like the old school intern hours, the way we describe it.
Earn their keep.
Yeah, and then we just flesh it out from there, and they get progressively more and more autonomy. So as we feel more comfortable, okay, well now you're trained to coach a warm up, or you're trained to coach this person on these lifts as you build rapport. And so it's built out in such a way that by the end, you should be able to run a floor in our environment, which is semi-private, or in a large group boot camp type environment, and own it. And we're going to sit back and watch you, and probably going to make some mistakes, but ultimately, that's what prepares you for the real world. It's not the internships where you go and stand in a corner and watch, and then you get to push a broom when the group's done. Like, you have to learn. And I think that's one thing that we've always made a big focus of our internship process.
Right, and I think that the feedback that we get when they leave is very powerful, because the consistent thing that we always get back is, we really didn't have to worry about them coaching, because they came in with that skill intact. And so a lot of the other facilities where they may have interned after us have just been thrilled with the fact that they didn't have to spend the time to just teach them the simple things, how to coach this, how to coach that kind of a concept. So I think that's very, very powerful.
And I don't think I have any issue with me saying this, but like Pete Dupuis and Eric Cressy love it if they get one of our interns. I mean, I remember clearly they'd had 3 or 4 of our guys come through, and there was one particular time where 2 of our guys were applying. There were 150 spots and only 6 openings. And I just told them both, because they interned at the same time too. I'm like, look, man, I love both you guys. I'd like to think I have some play here, but I doubt I'm going to get you both in. Like, one of you might be disappointed. And they took them both. Because they knew, like, look, day one, I can put this guy on the floor and he's going to be able to coach. He is an asset immediately. So I think that says volumes for Eric and Pete's intelligence. But also the fact that, hopefully we're creating some really positive teaching.
There's been a lot of people that have either done the Cressy first and then us, or us and then the Cressy. And I think that there's been this really nice go between those 2 programs, because of the volume of coaching instruction they get there, the number of reps that they get at Eric's because of the volume that they do. And so I think there's a lot of complementary elements in that respect. So let's go through the process. Let's talk about the gym interns specifically first, and let's go through that process. So you sort of laid it out that we do actually have a curriculum now at this point, but there's certain elements that if you want to call them milestones throughout the internship that sort of stand out. So you talked about the first week element, where you're not going to be a coach. You're going to learn procedures. You're going to learn concepts. You're going to learn how to interact with the clientele. So take me from there. And all through the painful element of the final TED Talk / program defenses and all that kind of stuff. So go through that process so people actually have an understanding what we do.
So essentially what you have is each week you're going to have 1 in-service minimum from our staff. And when we have PT interns at the same time, it's essentially like 2 or 3 a week, because every week we're going to teach you what we would consider a core competency: how to squat, how to deadlift, or hinge, whatever we're calling it these days, how to bench, or split squat, single leg. So we flesh out all of those. Then we move into program design skills, conditioning. Like, literally every week you have something. And again, if there's a PT intern, they're getting at a 2-week mark, they're getting hips and lower extremity, and then they're getting thorax, and they're getting rap day. So when it's laid out, it's this really beautiful level of education. But simultaneously, as they're getting educated, it doesn't make sense to just acquire this knowledge and not use it. So then on the back end, generally we're going to have one day where they have to go and coach each other or coach a staff member. So we're constantly reinforcing the skills that they're learning. As we're coaching on the floor, they have, again, kind of increasing levels of autonomy. So first 2 weeks, get to know people, get comfortable, learn the procedures and kind of routines of the gym. And then from there, it's okay, you're going to take this person through this limited section of their warm-up. Then in a couple weeks, you can take this person one-on-one. And then you just get progressively more and more autonomous in the fact that, hey, now, again, by the end of your internship, you should be able to handle the floor with three or four semi-private clients, or handle a boot camp with 10 to 15 clients and be okay, right? Like, you're not going to be the best ever, and that's okay. But ultimately, my goal has always been, if you go into a commercial gym after finishing our internship, you should be the best trainer they have day one. Like, that's always been my goal. And it's lofty because some of them have some big box gyms have people that have done this 10 or 15 years, but that's the goal.
Right. Yeah, and all you have to do is spend any amount of time in a commercial gym, and you'll see where our interns would stand out in a crowd in a heartbeat. Now, so I'm a big fan of the concept of a struggle, because I think that if you're not playing at this sweet spot where you're really challenging your self-image in regards to what you're capable of, obviously there's the learning is limited. So there are elements that we create in both sides of the internship, whether they're in PT or whether they're in the gym, as to sort of putting them on the spot a little bit, because again, there has to be some element of pressure, there has to be some element of struggle. So pick out something in the, well, I know what you're going to go with, but pick out something in the gym internship where you say, okay, it's time to put you on the spot in front of everybody else, and now we're going to watch you sweat a little bit. Yeah,
the two most glaring ones are the TED Talks, but really the program design defense, because look, it's like coaching. You spend the first 10 weeks realizing you don't know how to coach. And then you spend like the last 6 weeks realizing I don't know how to write a program. I've read programs, I've written programs for myself, or I've executed programs. Right. But when you have to do it for yourself, it's a totally different ballgame. So what that process looks like is either we give you one or you create a fictional client. And we always tell them the more specific, the better. The ones that don't listen to that always struggle. But you make this client as specific as possible. This is Jane Doe. She's 49. She's got a bad right knee. She's good at this, that, or the other. And then what we used to do was give them, hey, just write us one program for this person. And that, okay. But now we make them write 2 sequential programs. And the reason we do that is, number one, we get an idea of your thought process and kind of the exercise selection and why you choose certain things. But the other reason we do that is you can't use all your cool stuff month 1. It's like, okay, this looks awesome. What are you going to do month 2? Right. So it forces them to like think ahead and plan and start to think big picture. It's not just what am I going to do for this one program. Like you and I both know, when we start somebody, we think CFL, client for life. Right. Like I want them forever. So this is month 1. I got to give them enough to keep them interested, but man, I want this person for 8, 10, 15, 20 years. Right. Right. I think that getting them to perceive the long game and the whole concept is really important, with the understanding that, okay, I'm always going to have to make adjustments in my program. For sure. But at least I have a thought process or a framework that I'm working off of. And I think that's what a lot of people don't perceive, is because what they see as a program is typically what we would call a workout. Yes. Instead of looking at the big picture and saying, look at all these different elements that have to interact. Okay, what is my thought process behind those? Knowing that, like I said, I have to make a day-to-day adjustment that's totally warranted when you're dealing with humans. Right. But at least I have a process. At least I'm understanding what the secondary consequences are, which is another thing that people don't realize. Is like, I don't want to drive an athlete in the wrong direction or promote the wrong adaptation. Sure. And so if I'm chasing one element of performance, I might be actually neglecting or interfering with another aspect of performance. And so it gets a little heated actually during some of these things, because it's kind of like what is it, the third degree, where you're just sitting in the dark room with the spotlight on you kind of thing. Yeah. And then to watch it is a joy, I must say, to watch the kids struggle a bit. It really is. And I think the ones that are most receptive are the ones that are going to go on and be successful, because look, man, it's tough. I mean, just you and I being in there alone, and we don't have these heightened egos or anything like that, but it's people look at us in a certain way and they're like, oh, and then it's like, now you have Eric or in the day Ty and Jay's, this flat affect and just staring at them. And so, it is tough, but those are those situations where, okay, let's see what you're made of. And the thing that I always tell them at the end of the day, you have to have a rationale. Right. That's the most important thing. It can be wrong. It's going to be wrong. Right. You and I both know that. How many times have we been wrong? And how much of our programs evolved? Oh, yeah. But you have to have a rationale for why you do stuff. And if you at least have that, that tells me you put thought into it.
Yeah,
And that's what I'm really looking for.
Absolutely. And then, for anybody that's listening that does have interns or is even struggling with their own program design, one of the elements that I think that we've included that are essential is, okay, if you're going to write a program and then you're going to defend it, and then you should have to execute it.
Yes.
So because what a lot of people program isn't even close to reality for many people. And so from a volume standpoint, from an intensity standpoint, all of these program factors interacting, they really don't grasp what they have just written.
Right.
And so watching somebody execute a program that they have written for someone else, or even this imaginary person, once reality strikes, they go, oh, okay, now this is a learning experience, because now I have to understand, it's like, oh, I'm inflicting this upon someone. Right. And so if you've ever questioned any program you've ever written, just try to execute it yourself. And I think that there's tremendous value in that. If you want a learning experience, execute something that you wrote.
Yeah, I mean, that 401 tempo on Bulgarian split squats times 12 reps each leg looks great until you realize, oh wow, that's like 96 seconds of time under tension for that set. That's a lot harder than I probably assumed.
That's misery. If I can just speak about the PT internship program just a little bit, and again, my favorite thing about the element of struggle is putting them on the spot. So right away they start teaching. So we do a minimum of 2 in-services, and then we do what's called wrap day. So the in-services are something mechanical, something that they can learn to teach, and actually they teach the entire staff, which is great, because then it's just more information for the gym staff. For sure. But the reason I do that, again, is just to put them on the spot a little bit and getting them to teach, because of the value of teaching. And then there's always wrap day, and so this evolved. Everything that I do with the internships evolved from the interns themselves. So like when Mike was here, that's where the chessboards and coffee cups came from. Right. And Joe Cicinelli was an influence on Rap Day. Yeah. And so you can blame all those guys if you want to, for all these things feature interns. But again, it's like putting them on the spot. So Rap Day is I refer to as the Kobayashi Maru of the internship, because the Kobayashi Maru, for those of you who aren't, it's a Star Trek reference. It's the test that all starship captains have to pass to get their commission of their ship, but it's set up to be a no-win scenario. And so Rap Day is the ultimate no-win scenario, and all have survived. Some have not done as well. But again, if we don't put these kids in these pressure-packed situations in a safe environment, so that's the thing. That's huge. That's the thing that people need to understand. It's like, we're not doing this to punish people for the sake of punishment, as much as we enjoy it. I'm kidding, of course. But if you don't put these kids in these environments where they have to struggle a little bit, where they have to feel the heat a little bit, but they're safe. We're in the purple room. We're in front of people that care about their evolution.
They want them to get better.
Exactly. And so it's a supportive atmosphere, but it has to have that element of pressure in it. Because when they go out into the real world and they start working with real clients, or they start working with real patients, you don't have that cushion. And you're out there by yourself, and so it just allows them to evolve in this safe, protected environment. And ultimately, I think it's an essential component of any internship if you can do this.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more, and it's fun. Like, again, I don't get as much interaction with your students as you do, but it's fun to watch their growth and watch their evolution. And I mean, I come in here and I try and come in as much just to get treated, but it's fun to just interact with them and see their approach, and just get a feel for, okay, how is this guy compared to this gal or whoever, and just watch them operate, because it's fun to see their growth and their evolution over that time with you.
Excellent. So let's go through process. So we do have a process on how we take interns on, and so I think that's kind of important for everybody to recognize, like where do they need to go on the website to access this? What do they need to do to submit? Yep. And I've adopted a similar process. So go through that real quick so we understand.
Well, let's make sure I know it inside out. I don't do as much of it anymore. But go to ifastonline.com/internships. There's an application process, and I believe the starting point is you send an email to, I think it goes to Eric now, used to go to Jay, and basically you have to submit 2 videos. each under 2 minutes. One, just explaining why you'd be a good fit at IFAST and what you would bring to the team, right? Because we're a team and everybody needs to lift each other up. And then the second piece is actually coaching somebody through a lift. You get to choose the lift, you get to coach it however you want, but it starts to give us, especially with these video, some idea of your personality. Because we are a small gym. So if we get the wrong personality in here,
right,
it negatively impacts culture. So that's why we actually started with that is, what kind of heartbeat does this person have? What kind of energy do they have? How are they going to fit into our team and our culture here? But it just gives us a better understanding versus back in the day when we started. It's like, oh, send me a cover letter and resume and 3 references. But you don't take much away from that. This way I get a true idea as to who you are, what you're all about, and what you're going to bring to kind of the IFAST team should we choose you to be an intern here.
Right, and then there's the face-to-face with Eric now.
Yes.
Which is typically either an in-person or a video call
Yep.
that they have to go through as part of the process. So then that's all about communication, though, I think.
Absolutely.
More than anything else. And it's not about your level of knowledge. I don't think it's fair because you think about the people that came through here that are now in the NBA or Major League Baseball or hockey, or they run their own businesses. I mean, we've had a lot of people that are at very high levels now, and they were, while they were knowledgeable, they evolved within themselves, but they also came in as good people. I think that's the most important element of this, is because we can teach anybody anything technical. I think,
I agree,
if they're motivated to do so, but it's very difficult to find somebody that is willing to learn how to communicate and establish the relationship, because this is a relationship-based business.
Absolutely.
So that's why this process has to exist, is because we have to know someone, and if you can't communicate well yet, then it just means you're not ready. It doesn't mean that you're not a good person.
Right.
It doesn't mean that you'll never be an intern. It's just a matter of you're just not ready yet. You have skills that need to evolve a little bit more before we can bring you in. As you said, we have an established culture that we need to maintain because we do run a business, and so it's important that we get the right people in place. Going back to the good people thing, we've had some people that have now achieved an extremely high level of success. And so I think that I don't know if that reflects on us or if it just reflects on them as being good people.
I think we have played a very small part in maybe helping develop them and push them kind of in the right direction, but I think it's more a reflection of the fact we've had some really high quality people come through here. When we just think the business side, the 3 that immediately come to mind are obviously our boy Nick, the intern, Mike Koval.
Koval is killing it in Michigan.
Yeah, he's killing it. And then, my gosh, why did his name just slip my mind? Oh, Sean Griffin. Chicago Primal.
Yeah.
Chicago.
Yeah.
I mean,
huge.
You talk about a guy that's really done well, created an awesome culture in his gym. I mean, those 3.
But he can't have his parents. We get to keep his parents.
Yeah, no, we get to keep the parents. They're here.
Exactly.
They're here. But yeah, I mean, I think about those, and then, people don't know about those guys. I feel like
think about how successful these guys really, really are. I mean, from a business standpoint, this isn't beyond technical. This is totally beyond technical. And while they are technically excellent trainers,
sound. Absolutely,
these guys have taken the business end of things and just exploded.
Absolutely.
So that's really exciting.
So you've got them, and then you've got just this cadre. I don't know how to describe it, of people that have ended up in high performing facilities. You got obviously Ty, you've got Mike you've got Mike Roncarati, Yassine, Eric Otter. Oh my gosh, how did I forget? He's gonna kill me. I mean, medical director of the Grizzlies.
Whatever,
I mean, no big deal, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd have to go through the list, but I mean, it feels like you're a parent. Yeah, Pete Cicinelli
in Atlanta, Connor Ryan in Phoenix with the Coyotes. I mean, I think we play, as you said, we play a small role in that. It's just like pointing somebody in the right direction, and then letting them just evolve and develop it. But they all came in great people. I think that's essentially the if you want to develop a skill set to be in this business. I think you spend your time understanding relationships and persuasion, not in the element of manipulation, but just understanding how people think and how to behave and how to win friends and influence people is like the book kind of a thing, and that's where not enough people spend their time. They want to come in and they want to do sets and reps, and they want to talk about the exercise physiology elements of it, because they think that, oh, it's the technical side that's most important. Well, it has its level of importance. There's no question about that. It's like, to execute out there, I better know what I'm doing. But the interaction is always there.
Yeah.
It's always there, because once you've written the program and then you need to execute it, you still have to communicate with the person first and foremost.
Yeah. Yeah. And in your communication is how you sell the program, right? Like that's the thing. You can write the best program, but if you can't communicate why it's valuable, how it's going to help them, if you can't have that warmth and that empathy to relate to somebody, you know, that maybe is struggling, they are 50 pounds overweight, or their knee hurts today, or they're going through whatever at home. Like, if you can't relate to that person, good luck with your freaking X's and O's perfect program. It's not going to work.
Yeah, the goal is to be the best part of their day.
Yes.
Under every
I
circumstance.
firmly believe that.
It's if you don't communicate well, if you don't establish rapport, if you can't put someone at ease, then you're going to fail, no matter how technically sound you might be.
Absolutely.
Right. What else do we need to mention here about internships? So we mentioned how they can communicate with us.
Yep.
Real quick, the PT internships. So I'm on student 24.
Wow.
I think it's 20. I think it's Padawan 24.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm booked into 2021, so it's much more difficult, I think, to get on my roster, because I only take one at a time.
Yep.
Where we could take 3 or 4 in the gym at a time. But if anybody's interested, they can just contact us through the IndyFast at Gmail address, IndyFast at Gmail, and we'll start that process as well. So,
and if we forgot you, if you're an intern and we forgot you, we didn't forget you. The list is too long to mention all of you, but we appreciate all of you.
Yeah, it truly, like I said, because they teach us as much as we can possibly offer them. And so again, I think in any business, especially the small businesses, where you know it's not about what degree you had. It's literally when you run a small business, you are learning how to run the business as you execute. And I think there's tremendous value in that for anybody. So all small businesses should probably have an element of internship, and it's not about establishing free labor. They should never be free labor. I think that's the mistake, and that's what I was thrown into as a student. That's one of the reasons why I run the internships the way I do, is because I know what they really need for this outcome, versus just turning them loose with a bunch of patients, because that's not what the purpose of these things are. But there's so much value in teaching, just from the learning aspect of it, and that's where I think I just take away the greatest value.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we both take a lot of pride in it, but more importantly, we almost look at them as like they're like our kids.
They are.
Even though like now it's more like that, because they're 21 and 22 and I'm 40s and 50s, but it's I mean, we look at it with that same kind of regard, and we look at it with that kind of just admiration when we see them get these amazing jobs and they succeed. It's like you would like to think you at least played some very small role in that.
I have no children, but I have many kids.
Yes.
You know? It's like, and they are like wherever we go, we always have somebody that we can bump into, and you know, you throw the hug on them, and it's just like, okay, this is, and there is a tremendous sense of pride in it. So
absolutely, so that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Tons of pride.
While and again, you know, we appreciate all of them.
Yes.
Okay. Well, this was fun. This was number 2. I hope it's useful.
I hope people enjoy this.
I think it's useful.
No, it's fun.
Yeah,
it's fun for me.
It is, and I think that we just follow the evolution. So we've got 11 years of things to come, and so we, like I said, episode 1 startup, episode 2 internships, and I think we just build from there. So I think the next episode is going to be kind of fun too. So stay with us, and we'll see you next time.
Take care.